All right, well, good morning. Today is Wednesday. We are going to be reviewing equations and inequalities. So there's a few different kind of skills that you need for them. The most obvious one we think of is solving equations and inequalities, but we also deal with translating and modeling as well. So I'm going to try and keep these kind of review videos short and quick, and more so show you how to find things that you need, so that if you need to find something, you know how to do it, but you don't have to sit and watch a really long video to get there. So first thing I want to do is kind of review translations. So this is where you need to know your keywords for your different operations. So I'll just kind of jot that down over here. You have your keywords for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I'm not going to jot down all of those. You can actually find those in your notebooks. I know your notebooks are at school, but I'll also show you how to find them on Blackboard because I had been scanning those in kind of all along. You also want to keep in mind your switch words. So this is where if you're taking something that's written out, this is where if you're taking something that's written out in words and you're translating it to like a math statement. So you're using an inequality symbol to write it or an equal sign to write it. You're just taking what's in words and putting it in math symbols or vice versa. So remember, like your switch words, I will jot down some of these, were more than. And remember Mr. Dowdy had that little song, more than, less than. I was never good at that song, so I'm not going to try and sing it. More than, less than, greater than, I think was in that as well. Kind of a synonym of more than. Then we had subtracted from. A lot of times your switch words were kind of like two words like this, but not always. Taken away from, added to. Like I said, I will show you where to find these in your notes. Okay. Modeling. So you're actually kind of translating the model first. So you want to translate or interpret the model. Feel like I might have left out an E in interpret, but you're going to translate or interpret the model. And then after you translate or interpret it, you're going to have to solve the problem. Solve for the variable. One thing I should have put probably directly underneath the translate part is that it's super important that you need to use the key that's provided to understand what everything represents. So I'm going to kind of take a break from this kind of active board setting and show you where you can find some things for our translations and our modeling in our note. So I'm back on my homepage for Blackboard, and our notes I put along in each of these topics that we did. So I'm going to go to solving equations and translations. We did inequalities as a separate unit, but for example, I'll click on 712. I had some practice here that was like some links that you could do if you wanted, but here we go. Back to our interactive notebook notes is where you can find all of our scanned in notes. So here's kind of the headings of everything. If you're not sure if that's what you're looking for, you can click on that arrow to the right and it will drop down and show you the whole picture of the notes. So this is kind of our introduction here to solving one-step equations. These were some examples that we did. one step right now probably seems so easy because we've done so much more than that. We had the two methods, the boo-boo method and the do and undo method. Okay, I'm going to go to translating. So these were the words we wrote down for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Of course, there could be maybe synonyms to those words that would still be switch words, but it gives you kind of an idea. So there were some switch words there. There was a separate, here we go, separate notes page we did specifically on switch words where we practiced them, translating from words into like a math statement or math phrase. Here were our grouping words as well. So this is under 712 over on the side here. And then if you needed to find anything for solving inequalities, that was 713. So again, these were some of these we started to do some assignments here. Here's the practice activities and games at the bottom. And again, interactive notebook notes was up at the top. So if you're looking for something in particular or an example, translating inequalities, keywords, that might be something you would need for what we're doing today. So it was keywords that tell you, again, there could be other examples, but these would probably be the most common ones that you would see that we took in our notes in class. So I'm going to go back to that active word. So that's kind of dealing with this modeling now. Again, you want to solve and interpret the model. Now, one thing you're going to need to know, I'm going to go to our page here. I'm not going to show you again how to download this. Showed you that the other day. But say now you have downloaded this, and let me save this as something different before I forget so that I don't mess up what I have. We will call this sample. Just gotta tag that onto the end there. Okay, so I'll do the first one for you. Because you're having to type these in, you might need to know how to find the symbols. Okay, so the directions for the first 4 questions say to translate the equation or inequality in the space provided. Oh, and if you are highlighting something, make sure this may have happened with one of the questions that I asked you to circle or highlight and answer to before. I noticed a lot of people didn't answer it. If you just do this doesn't stay there. You would have to click here to highlight where it says highlight text. If you just kind of drag the mouse over it like that, it won't stay like that when you submit it. So question number 1, David must receive at least an 89% on his next test in order to make AB honor roll. Okay, so we would want to fill in, we have to create a variable for what, we need to create a variable to represent what we're solving for. So it can be like an A to represent AB honor roll. It can just be an X. You don't really have to overthink that part. So I type in here, I would do X. Then I have to figure out if I'm talking about less than, greater than, equal to, what is it I'm looking at here? And if I want at least, that's what I'm looking at here. You can highlight stuff on your paper or underline if it helps you. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. So, okay, at least 89%. Okay, so at least means he can get an 89%. He can get higher than an 89%. He can get 100. He can get a 90. So what I'm looking at here is I'm going to want a greater than or equal to sign. He can get a score of 89% or he can get a score that is greater than that. That'd be great, but he doesn't want to score less than it. So I need to find the greater than or equal to sign. Now down at the bottom by like where your comma and your period are, that's where your less than and your greater than signs are, but there's no line under those. So if you want to insert a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to sign, this is normally what you would have up here with kind of the home menu bar here, but you go to insert and you go over to the right where it says symbol. So you click on that. Now these are my recently used symbols. So I have greater than or equal to and less than or equal to right here. You would probably have to go to more symbols and you may have to scroll kind of depending where it puts you when you open this up. You may have to scroll to find it and they'll be kind of near each other right here. less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, you see things like that approximately or that about equal to or not equal to kind of nearby it. So then you could click on greater than or equal to. It doesn't insert it until you click insert, and it's behind it, so you can't really tell that it's inserted it, but it has, and then you can click close. So now I've inserted that greater than or equal to. I'm gonna add a space in here just so it's kind of easier to read. And then that 89%. I'm not necessarily asking you to like convert that percent to a decimal. In fact, when we had done this before, we didn't even bother with the percent sign. We just said x is greater than or equal to 89, and then we graphed that. Remember, there was a way to graph that on a number line with your open or closed circle and shading in either side. But this is all I really need right here. It's just that x is greater than or equal to 89, okay? So you have an example of models here. There's two modeling questions. So he said the first thing you have to do is identify what is being modeled. So that's the first step you do here. And then you would solve for the variable. Now, the bottom part is where it's asking you to solve. So I tried to fit this all on one page. So I put the answer choices to the right of the problem, since you're not really going to necessarily be solving this on this paper anyways. But if you want to show your steps on here, I don't care if this goes on to 2 pages when you submit it, that's fine. I was just trying to make this easy to kind of see here. So then I'm going to go back and do examples of solving. So I'm just going to come up with something here. I want a 2-step, I'm going to do a 2-step equation first. So I might have like 5x minus 3 equals, I don't know, 18. So then when we did equations, we didn't necessarily draw the railroad tracks. We had just kind of drawn a line, but I'm going to draw the railroad tracks like we did for inequalities. All right, we want to box in our variable and what's with it, which in this case would be that 5x. This is a relatively simple 2-step equation that we're doing right now. I want to get rid of that minus 3, right? So the opposite of subtracting 3 or the opposite of minus 3 is plus 3. So then I would add 3 over here. And then, hey, I've got different colors I can use. I'll even switch colors. Then this would cancel, right? And then I would be left with, carrying down that 5x, carry down my equal sign, and 18 plus 3 would give me 21. And this one is not going to work out nicely. I just kind of picked a number in my head. 21 is not divisible by 5, so I would divide by 5. I could have switched over to that blue if I wanted to. And that would give me, I'm going to use my calculator on here. You can use Desmos too. I have a link, I believe, at the top of my, or maybe in class info on Blackboard. So 21 divided by 5. Okay, at least it works out to a decimal that doesn't repeat. So x would be equal to 4.2. All right, so now I'm going to do an example with an inequality, and we have to be careful with a couple things with this. So let's say I have, this may or may not work out nicely either. Let's just say I have 2 minus, let's see here, 3x is less than, let's see here, 11. I think this one will work out. All right, so same thing. I would want to, I'm going to draw my railroad tracks, and I'm going to start by boxing in my variable and what's with it. So in this case, I'm not only boxing in that 3x, but the negative sign that's in front of it, okay? So if you're subtracting, like in this first example, my variable and the coefficient were listed first. So I knew it was positive because there was no negative sign in front of it. For this one, because you're subtracting it, you treat it like a negative, okay? So now I want to get rid of that 2 that is in front of it. That 2 was being added to it, and I will try and switch to a different color here so you can see it, because it's going to get a little mixed in here. But 2 minus 3x is the same as 2 plus negative 3x, so that's how I know that I am adding that 2 originally, and so to get rid of it, I want to subtract it. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, go back, I'll switch my color again. 2 minus 2 is going to cancel. Except for I have this set so it keeps disappearing. Okay, and then I would carry down that negative 3x, carry down my inequality symbol right now, and subtract 11 minus 2, which is going to give me 9. All right, now I box in my variable. Actually, I forgot to do that in the last one. But I want to box in the variable, and I want to get rid of that negative 3 that's in front of it. So to get rid of the negative 3, right now it's a coefficient, so it's being multiplied. I want to divide by negative 3. And this is where you have to be careful. Remember, if you multiply or divide, I'm going to make a note to the side here, okay? Remember, if you multiply or, now I want that to go away, there we go, or divide by a negative number, you have to switch your inequality symbol. That is super, super, super important. Because especially when you have something that is multiple choice and then you have to select the correct answer, it's really easy to forget to interpret it, even if you switch that symbol. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 over here cancels. So I am left with x. Now 9 divided by negative 3 would be a negative 3, right? Because a positive divided by negative is a negative. And I have to switch that symbol. So instead of less than, it's greater than. So x is greater than negative 3. So I didn't already write examples here, but if I had examples to pick from, like if it was multiple choice, I'm just going to jot down a few ideas or possible solutions. So if x is greater than negative 3, it cannot include negative 3. So I'm going to draw that and cross it out. But it could include negative 2. Negative 2 is greater than negative 3. 0 is greater than negative 3. Any positive number, 7, I don't care if it's 86, okay, anything greater than negative 3 would work as a solution. And that's why we did practice graphing when we were working on this unit. So hopefully that kind of helped you out. I tried to do more with showing you how to do things, like where to find your symbols in Word, how to find your notes on Blackboard. So I'm going to go ahead and open up today's activity for you, and then if you have any questions, just kind of keep emailing me like you have. I did open up a discussion on Blackboard. In that discussion tab, kind of just asking for your feedback, how things are going. You do not have to respond to that, but you are more than welcome to share your thoughts and opinions and give me kind of your perspective as well on how things are going.